Rise for Mayor Michael Fougere.
Please be seated. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 20th meeting of Regina City Council. Before we get to the agenda, just a couple of comments, particularly for new members of council. Reminder, the rules are a bit more rigid than they are in the executive committee, such as motions that are made from reports or any other motion, it has to be seconded. You have 5 minutes to speak on a motion and 3 minutes on an amendment. And just a reminder to please direct your questions and comments through the chair to the administration, or if you have delegation to them as well. On that note, if I could have a motion to confirm the agenda, please.
So moved. Thank you.
Councillor Bryce, a seconder, please. Councillor Hawkins, any additions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The minutes from the November 7th meeting. A motion to adopt those, please. Anybody? Councillor Bryce?
So moved.
Councillor Flagel seconds them. Any errors, omissions, or comments on the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The first report we have is an administration report, CM 16-7, University Park Drive and Arcola Avenue intersection. If I can have a motion to put this on the floor, please. Councillor Hawkins, and second that. So just, I guess to the administration, I'll ask them to provide some background to that, and there'll be discussion afterwards. Ms. Harlock?
Through your worship, this report is coming forward from a council motion that was made on June 27th regarding the traffic study to address the traffic concerns and congestion at University Drive and Arcola Avenue. That was prompted out of a report that came from the Planning Commission to approve 2 larger apartment buildings in the area. Administration went back to look to see if there was any opportunities for improvements through traffic light signalization, and it was found that at this point all of that traffic signalization timing has been exhausted, and next year we will be undertaking a functional study to look at what other opportunities we could have within the area to improve traffic circulation at this intersection. One of the primary things we will be looking at in that functional design is looking at 3 lanes for the bridge with respect to that. As far as the whole Arcola, which I know is another situation that council has some concerns about, we have a draft transportation master plan that has a number of traffic improvements that have been identified within that report that will be taken over time for improvements to improve circulation and traffic within the whole east side of the city. But it is to the 300,000 population, so it is timing with respect to when all of those projects would come in line. But I can answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Harlock. Are there questions or comments? Councillor Brasciani?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I just do have a couple questions. First of all, just a little bit of background. I've lived in Ward 4 for 35 years, and a big piece is Arcola. It's a main artery. When I saw in the recommendation, it is one of the busiest in Regina, the busiest street, about 45,000 cars daily. And so I know just from previously speaking with the people in Ward 4 that this is a huge, huge concern. So number one, I'm thankful that we're looking at it, but I think the big thing is looking at it, I really want it to move to a plan to get it going, and I think that's the big thing. I think when we're looking at a plan, a strategy and a study, that takes time. So I guess one of the questions I do have is when you're looking at this, what is the time frame that we're kind of looking at?
Ms. Harlock?
To you, Your Worship. The functional study will be done next year, so hopefully by the end of the year we'll have that completed, and it'll make recommendations with regards to further cost-benefit analysis. As indicated, there are a number of projects over the 25-year horizon that will be done to improve traffic within the area, so we'll have to look at the functional study to determine whether or not we should be advancing some of these projects sooner or later. With our model for growth, the servicing agreement fee model, there's a number of projects, not just transportation, but water and wastewater projects. So it is in Council's purview that we could advance projects, but there is repercussions for doing that with respect to if we push one ahead of another one, that could have impacts to our debt and timing with respect to the other major infrastructures. So if we were to do that, we would want to bring a report back with respect to all of the implications to readjusting the model that was approved by Council last year.
I have one more question, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Okay. So with that, I guess, so I just want to be clear. So are we going to be, is this study going to be looking at expanding Arcola and the bridge?
Charlotte?
Through Your Worship, the study will be, I'll start and maybe I'll ask Ms. Folk to expand, but it will be looking at different options for eastbound left movements, looking at the bridge and looking at dual turn lanes. So there is a number of things that we'll be looking at to improve that intersection specifically. And as I said, there's a number of other projects that are going to look at improving the whole circulation of Arcola and traffic within the east, getting to downtown and around the city. And of course, we have the bypass that's being constructed that will also hopefully alleviate some of the traffic concerns in the east. But I might ask Ms. Folk to add anything if she feels that is needed.
Ms. Folk?
Through Your Worship, Ms. Horlick has provided an overview. Currently, the intersection of Arcola Avenue and University Park Drive is performing based on service levels. Understand that there are challenges in terms of expectations in terms of meeting that, and there's a need to look at it from a system perspective within the overall corridor, as well as anticipated growth in the East End.
One more question. I think that's my point, is that the rapid growth that we have had in the East End is, I feel, and talking to the people, has, with the infrastructure, we've not met that. And I think that's the concern. So I know in talking to the developers that they've paid the agreement fees that they need to pay for the infrastructure that needs to go in. So I just hope that in this, we have a timeline, number one, but to also look at the infrastructure that needs to go into Arcola for either 3 lanes and the bridge. Because I think in your study, it comes out that the bottleneck is at the bridge, and that's where it needs to change. You can change and put arrows and add lanes, but when you get to that bottleneck at the bridge, that's where the congestion happens. And if you see it, there is accidents, people trying to merge because of the traffic, and it's very, very unsafe. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marchani. Other speakers to the report? Councilor Flegel.
Thanks. The point I wanted to make is that the study that you're going to do, are we going to take into effect how much of the traffic would utilize the bypass that they're not utilizing today? And I know we're doing the same thing on the west side of the city as well. Once that happens, I'm finding our feeling, and people are saying that the West Hill people will hit the bypass, go south. The McCarthy Park people, the Maple Ridge, the Lakewood people will do that and go south. So that could eliminate some traffic congestion, say for me at Pasco and 9th Avenue North. Is that going to be the same kind of a concept that we're going to deal with? And can we determine the possibility of how much of the traffic that is utilizing Arcola today will use the bypass to go to Albert Street and beyond? Thanks.
Charlotte?
Through Your Worship, we do have a model that does look at how traffic movements function throughout the city based on the different road networks. So yes, our model will look at how much traffic gets dispersed onto the bypass.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to know, because eventually it'll come to the west side too. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Flagel. Other speakers on the report? Councillor Young, if you could take my seat for a moment, please.
Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a couple of comments. I live in this area of the city too, so it's of concern to me as well, and I share the points made by Councilor Bresciani. But I would add one point too, and this is related more to the overall study of Arcola Avenue. The bottleneck isn't necessarily at the bridge over the big road. It's actually at Rathwell and Arcola, where the Esso station is. There's a set of lights there that is continuously out of sync and will continuously cause a backup if you're going home at the end of the day all the way to Victoria Avenue, if you're trying to go downtown to work in the morning, all the way past University Park Drive. So I would ask the administration to look at that set of lights to determine the feasibility of the lights, but a way to truly synchronize them so traffic can move forward. It's always at that light, and Councilor Bresciani, you probably would know that as well. That is a problem. The width of the bridge is a concern for capacity over time, but day by day, that set of lights at Rathwell and Arcola is a huge problem. So I'm not going to put a motion forward, but I would ask the administration for an undertaking to provide a memo to members of council on the ways we can actually fix the lights so they're truly synchronized to move traffic forward. One last point with respect to the larger review of Arcola. I understand that report will be coming back in 17. There's reference in this report about a report coming back in 17.
Through you, Madam Chair, the report that's coming is a functional study that's going to look at the intersection, that general intersection.
Okay.
We have the draft transportation master plan that already talks about what improvements are needed for the whole of Arcola in order to meet our long-term traffic needs for our new growing population.
So when will that report be finished?
We'll be bringing the transportation master plan by the end of Q2 next year.
So about mid next year, mid 2017 for the transportation master plan. I mean, that will include Arcola.
That's right. It includes the whole city and all of the major infrastructure.
But I'm focusing only on Arcola.
It will have Arcola in it, yes.
Okay. That's good. Thank you very much. Other discussions on the report? It is a receive and file, or remove and permanently close. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Closed. Carried. We'll move on to Executive Committee reports. The tender agreement with QP Local 7. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to move CR 16-128.
Have a seconder for that, please. Okay, Councillor Flagel.
This recommendation from the Executive Committee is that the tentative agreement reached with QP Local 7 be approved. And Your Worship, this is a 3-year contract, and it is a contract that really meets the identified and the expressed needs of both the union and the city. And it also is an agreement that supports the good working relationship that has developed between the city and this union. And it should also be noted that QP7 Local held a meeting on November 3rd of 2016, and the tentative agreement was ratified by their membership. So there are really kudos that go to the people that do this work, both on the part of the union and on the part of the city. They have done a very good job working with one another, both to meet the needs that both have and also the working relationship that is a good one.
Thank you, Councillor. Before we open up for questions or comments by Council, I know the City Manager or Mr. Cullen want to comment on more of the specifics within the agreement itself.
So, Your Worship, and members of the City Council, I just want to reinforce what Councillor Young has indicated, and that is, first of all, a thanks to both the bargaining teams for Local 7, their Executive Committee, and our bargaining team, which was led by Louise Folk, our Director of Development Services. There was a lot of work done. There was some significant strides made this round of bargaining, and as of note that Councillor Young highlighted, the relationship is an important one. But I'll ask J.P. Cullen, our Executive Director of Human Resources, to highlight some of the specifics that we were able to negotiate and put forward.
Mr. Cullen.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Through your worship, as has been stated, I'm very pleased to advise council members that we have reached a tentative deal with QB Local 7. I won't go over the points that have already been made, but we'll highlight some of the terms of the agreement that might be of interest. First is a general wage increase of 1.9% annually for the years of the agreement, so that is for 2016, 2017, and 2018. As well, we achieved changes to the hours of work language that in effect help us to improve our capacity for customer service. There were also changes to CBA articles relating to death and disability benefits as well as workers' compensation benefits. And I would note that these have been long-term issues for the employer, so we have begun a process for working with our union partners to improve over time. Some general gains for our employees that go beyond the wage increase included an enhancement of sick time benefits for our casual employees, as well as a creation of a health spending account and enhanced provisions for bereavement leave that are comparable to our out-of-scope group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Job very well done. Thank you very much to the administration for a great report. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We'll move on to report 16-129, the 2017 Council and Committee meeting schedule. Councillor Young.
Your Worship, I'm bringing forward for a motion the recommendation of the Executive Committee that the 2017 meeting calendar for City Council and the following main committees as outlined in Appendix A be approved, and that the administration come forward with a draft agenda that provides for all delegations to be at the beginning of meetings.
A seconder for that, please. Councillor Stevens. Councillor, if you just maybe go over the reason why we asked to put delegations at the beginning of the council meeting.
When people come to speak to us, they sometimes have to sit through a very long meeting, and we've had a few long ones in the last year. And so this makes sure that when they come to speak to us that they're at the front part of the meeting. That's my understanding. There may be other issues as well.
Okay, great. Comments on the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just by way of explaining what we're looking for here is there has been discussion that administration requires a special budget meeting to be called in early 2017, and I believe February 13th was the date for that, and so we would require a motion from a member of council.
A motion to Councillor Flagel, a seconder, please, for that. Councillor O'Donnell, for February 13th. All those any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Comments on the report as amended? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The last report from the Executive Committee meeting is the 2017 elected official committee appointments. Councillor Young.
Your Worship, I bring forward CR 16-130, recommendation from the Executive Committee that City Council appoint and approve the elected member appointments to the committee summarized in Appendix A, and that all appointments to be made effective December 1st, 2016, with terms of office to December 31st, 2017, unless otherwise noted.
Seconder for that, please. Councillor Brashani. Discussions on the report. I would just note as members are thinking about commenting or not, we do need one more person to sit on finance administration. The report speaks to we shall have 5 members. We have 4 right now, so we haven't met as a council yet. That will be in December. So if members are still thinking about it, you could let the clerk know, let members of council know, your colleagues who would want to sit on that, but that would be an important element to have. So I'm not putting anybody on the spot, just simply highlighting the need. Comments on the report? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll move on to motions from Councillor Stevens. This is a notice of motion, and it's a notice to have this report or motion discussed at the December meeting of council, so there'll be no debating it tonight. It'll be next month. So we'll simply move on to our bylaws, and that is bylaw 16-65, the Regina zoning bylaw amendment, number 20. Councillor Young.
I move, seconded by Councillor Hawkins, that bylaw number 2016-65 be introduced and read a third time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. There we go. That's it. That's the end of the meeting. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Hawkins, second by Councillor Flagel. I don't think I have much debate on this one. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. That is another very fast meeting.